Hello and thanks for joining us on Politics Extra, and I'm Okiri Agbonsuremi. Politics Extra is a production of Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG, and PRIMOG is registered in Nigeria to join in the efforts to mobilize Nigerians to a very high level of patriotic consciousness towards nation building. Our mandate is to campaign for inclusiveness, accountability, and transparency to enthrone and sustain democracy. Our goal is to make the people count and leaving no one behind. You can join us on our Facebook page, live official PRIMOG as we speak. You can quickly search through your Facebook page and you join us live. On this program on Tuesdays and Thursdays will be coming in and we'll be trading in facts and provide Nigerians the opportunity to get up-to-date political information to demand for accountability and good governance. And our guest today is Mr. Oluwole Osaze-Uzzi, the Director of Voter Education and Publicity at the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Abuja here. Now, let's go straight to get your feedback before we come to our guests. Let's please send your mail through politicsextra@primorg.org. PRIMOG is PRIMORG. PRIMORG. Politics Extra in just one word at primorg.org. That is the route to reach us. And Adaobi Obeabumo will lead us through your mails. Adaobi.
Thank you. Welcome to the feedback segment. I am Obiabumo Adaobi. Our first mail is from Jim Otochkwobi, and he says, kindly confirm the email to reach you on Politics Extra on Kiss FM. Thanks for your mail. Our mail address is politicsextra@primorg.org or info@agbonsuremi.com. The second mail is from Samuel Nangpak. He says, I love Politics Extra. Thanks, Samuel. Please drop us more lines on issues raised on the program. The third mail is from Chidozie Eze, and he says, EFCC for long alerted Ayo Fayose that he will be their guest immediately he steps down as the governor of Ekiti State. Fayose went to EFCC voluntarily. In an ideal situation, EFCC would have prepared roundly all the allegations waiting for Fayose to fast-track actions, but surprisingly, it's taken another dimension. What it means is that all the while EFCC did not prepare for Fayose, God bless Nigeria. Many thanks for your mails. Keep them coming through Politics Extra.
I guess just before you give that, before you sign off, I guess we had some mails that came on Thursday last week that was meant for the Independent National Electoral Commission. I think we deliberately kept it so that we can have them answered when our guests come. What are those mails?
Yes, we have two mails. The first is from Imidowojo Akoje. He said that his PVC is bad and he would want to know if it's possible to get a reprint before the 2019 elections. And the second mail did you bring? He says, I transferred my PVC from Borno State to Abuja. He would want to know if it's possible for him to pick it up before the elections. Thank you.
Well, we'll be tasking our guests to answer. Thank you very much, Adaobi Obiabumo, for those mails. Please let your mails keep hitting our mailbox, Politics Extra at primorg.org. Politics Extra at primorg.org. Now, after the mail, let's go straight to some updates on current news development around Nigeria. From the very robust Kiss FM newsroom, I have Olatokewa Ayoade. How in the last 24 hours and today, what is the hot story around?
Yeah, I think I should start from the trending one that's just released, that concerning the Senate, that they have passed the Electoral Act Amendment Bill after being rejected for the third time. Yeah. And I think Bukola Saraki is optimistic this time around that the president is going to... I
can assure you that even the Independent National Electoral Commission is also optimistic that something will be done to fast-track him. But from what I got now from the National Assembly, it does appear that those contentious areas that the president didn't agree with, for instance, the idea of the order of election was not even touched. They just quickly just left that. And then we have I wouldn't know what to say now, whether it's good news, but we do the analysis. that if this bill is assented to by the president, the card reader will be the master of the elections. Without card reader, there will be no elections. 3 hours to the end of closure of election. If the card reader is not functioning, they have to postpone to such a time they can get the card reader. The meaning is that if there's no card reader at a polling center and it fails, there's no incident form anymore. Everybody must obey the dictates of the card reader to be able to when we get to our guests, we'll ask if this is what we call pure electronic voting now. Now, which are the other issues?
Yeah, I also have this APC Enugu issue with the APC Osita Okechukwu blaming Oshiomhole for tribalism within the party. I don't know.
But you heard Oshiomhole admitted that one of the governors want him out.
Yes.
And that he doesn't care whatever he want to fight to redeem, or is it to work hard to restructure the party?
He's trying to restructure, but it seems everything is not just working in his favor this time around. I don't know.
Osita Okechukwu is the DG of VON.
Yes,
and he's a known and very close person to the president, standing tall with the president over the years. He's a man who has not jumped from one party to the other.
Yes.
So he probably understands the working of within the party. I also saw what the wife of the president saw, that we collect money from people, whereas you already have a candidate that you have made up your mind to. So,
but initially I thought they were saying Oshiomhole was a saint that was going to actually unify the party. So I'm surprised at this late emergence of different things concerning Oshiomhole. But it's one of those things in Nigerian politics.
They have said, Oshiomhole himself says some persons want to push him out of the party. And we said when we were doing media analysis on the press talk this morning, that his days are actually numbered. It's a matter of them keeping him till maybe for the elections to be over, but the way he has gone, trying to know it all within the party, he doesn't work in a system where somebody want to do corrections. You have to do it with humility. You don't add arrogance to it. You don't make people, you don't bully people. But the way he's going about it, he may not achieve what the very, very good things he wants to do within the APC. He may spoil it with his own attitude.
Yeah, heading a political party shouldn't just be me idea. You have to give room to other parties.
That's why it's called democracy.
That is why it's democracy. I think we must not go without commending NYSC as well for what they did.
The situation in Kaduna State.
Yes, this time around it should be commended, because most times when all this curfew, all these crises happen, coppers end up losing their lives. But this time around, they are so proactive to actually stop the coppers in Kaduna. I think.
But I hope the information. I actually hope the information got out early, because actually it was just within 24 hours. Of course, you wouldn't blame NYSC, because the incident happened and it was like quickly take an action. Do we ask our coppers to go to Kaduna when there's a curfew and there's crisis in the place, and they quickly passed information out that coppers should remain? They will ask them to come. And that was very, very good of the authorities of the NYSC to prevent any backlash, so that coppers don't walk into the minds of a crisis, danger zone. That was very good.
Yeah, but I think there's an update in Kaduna as well right now that the curfew has been reduced till 5 p.m. So which means maybe activities will be
at least we begin to pick up.
That means peace is.
But the question remains: when are we going to have an end to all the crises? Jos, Benue, Kaduna. When are we going to have an end to it?
It's just to get it right.
Well, thank you so much, Olatokewa Ayorade from the newsroom. Let's meet my guests now. Mr. Oluwole Osaze-Uzzi is the Director of Voter Education and Publicity at the Independent National Electoral Commission office in Abuja. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me on the program. Thank you for honoring us with your presence in the studio. And I appreciate you, sir. Now, we have a lot of... Incidentally, today, the progress at the National Assembly is... I say, define you already... The INEC is already having its own readiness. It knows what to expect. If this thing work this way, if they reject it, if they don't reject it, you already plan. Is there anything that, from what we are getting, the amendments, particularly the card reader and some other amendments that were proposed, if they were all passed as it were, will INEC be justified? Will INEC be upset? Will INEC have any problem?
Thank you, Kiria. The truth is that as a creation of the Constitution, INEC has to work with whatever laws that are passed. So we don't have a choice no matter. We work with the laws as they exist. We've been planning in accordance with the extant laws, because we have to understand this is an Electoral Act amendment bill. So there is a bill, there's an act in place. but it's to further amend that act. That's why, well, that's what we're talking about now. So whatever law there is, we'll work with it. But yes, there are a few things in the bill that we have seen. I think we should wait for the act to be passed. I will know exactly the legal framework what we're working with. But there are good things there. There's increased use of technology, and so I think most stakeholders will welcome that development. We hope that we must not mislead people to think that the act has been passed. The bill has not been passed yet. The House of Representatives also has to pass that.
And there has to be a harmonization before it goes to the president.
If there's any discrepancy between what has passed by the Senate and the House of Representatives, there will now be harmonization. If there isn't, then it will go straight to the president.
Is this coming rather late by your own judgment? I'm talking.
Good. You're asking me. I can't pass judgment. I'm not qualified to pass.
I mean,
the only thing I can say is that yes, there are protocols, and ideally, the legal regime should be settled 1 year to any election.
Yes,
the international protocols and so on, which Nigeria is subscribed to. So yes, in that context, but it's not for me to pass judgment. But Nigeria should endeavor and always strive to ensure that it lives up to its biddings, international biddings, and to international best practices.
Now let's begin from the political. An introduction of a section. This section 5, subsection 8. Talking about punishment for penalties for INEC staff official, that is appointment of secretaries, who declines or neglects or refuses to disclose that he's a member of a political party. A 5 million naira penalty and imprisonment of at least 5 years was recommended. I don't know if this is passed. I don't know, but you have seen this recommendation. How does it affect the quality? Because we have seen in the past where politicians accuse INEC officials of belonging to political parties. This was supposed to cure that. That if you are an officer of INEC, you should be divorced completely, purged of political affiliation.
Yeah, but that talks about the secretary.
Secretary, yes.
Who was the head of the secretariat of INEC. Going down memory lane in the past, you see that secretaries were appointed by the president,
yes,
from amongst 7 permanent secretaries. And to the best of my knowledge, nobody who has served as secretary of the commission has been partisan in terms of belonging to any political party.
They have actually flown from the civil service.
From the civil service, from permanent secretaries. Now, since 2006, I think it was, but the Electoral Act says the secretary is appointed by the commission. The criteria, limited criteria for qualification, but no secretary who has been appointed by 2 secretaries have been appointed in that regard. The third is about to be appointed. None of those has been a partisan politician. So, well, maybe it should be in the statute books, but it has never arisen, and I don't expect it to arise. But the 2 that have been appointed by the commission have been from amongst the director cadre of the commission, and no staff of the commission belongs to the political party as far as we are aware.
Now let's come to the practical aspect. Those things that will affect the electorates, those who are contesting, and the Independent National Electoral Commission in the practice, those things that were to be handled in practical terms during the elections. Let's begin with the card reader.
Yes, sir.
Now, is just simple interpretation is that without card reader, there's no election. The simple interpretation is that if there's no card reader present at the polling station, if this law is passed and signed by the president, if there's no card reader, there's no election. It is coming to play a very pivotal role in determining what are the advantages of this to the operators.
Well, Austin, remember that in 2015, the card reader was introduced.
Yes.
And the INEC guidelines provided that if there is no card reader, after consultation with the political parties, said if the card reader does not function properly, then it's the elections in that particular unit will be postponed to the following day or any other future time. Actually, that provision has been there. It was in the guidelines.
Okay.
But that did not have the force of law. So now it will appear that is being introduced into our legal system now. But let's be clear on this. It mentions card reader or any other technological device. You call a card reader now, but tomorrow there might be
any other technology.
Technology is very, very dynamic, as you know. So people should remember that, not just card reader, but card reader or similar technological device.
The one we know now.
The one that we know and we use now is the card reader in Nigeria. Other countries have
other technologies.
Absolutely.
Now, what quickly just ran on my mind.
Yes.
I wouldn't say I'm negative, but it is a possibility that,
Yes.
assuming in a presidential election,
Yes.
and in my constituent, in my polling unit,
Yes.
the card reader malfunction, you tried to bring another card reader, it didn't work, and as envisaged by the law, you need to postpone, just in my polling unit of 500 people.
Yes.
Now, with that particular 500 units, how does it affect the overall calculations at the end of the day? I mean, people are beginning to say, okay, incidents can happen where people will just, if they discover that things are going wrong, they can just take the card reader and run away. And there will be nothing to be used to conduct the elections. Are we trying to look at all these possibilities and see how INEC is going to go around this maze and take the stakeholders along?
Austin, I'm not so sure that I'm qualified to answer that question. We're not lawmakers, so it's a question that should be pointed in the right direction, in the direction of the lawmakers. But the Electoral Act has provisions for where disturbances or postponement that leads to postponement, or where certain things have happened over voting occurs in a polling unit. Generally, you postpone to a future date, probably the following day or some other day.
Yes.
But if the commission is satisfied, if INEC is satisfied that the outcome in that particular unit or affected unit will not affect the overall results. For example, if the first candidate, leading candidate, has 100 votes and the second candidate has 10 votes,
yes,
and the polling unit only has 40 votes, you know that even if you added the 40 votes
it will not
to the
add
second runner-up, it will not make a difference to the who wins the particular election. In a governorship election, if it satisfies other conditions, you should make a declaration. So I presume that is exactly what will happen now. So that if it's such, you mentioned a presidential election, it's difficult in a presidential election because you may not be able to know whether it will affect the overall outcome until you collect all the results. But in the smaller elections where you can collect the results and you know that having collected all other good units, the difference is such that whether you add all the other votes in the affected polling units will make a difference, then you can make a declaration on a return.
Now, I don't want to take you into the police question because it is the security that would answer the other aspect of my question. I know how it can be when you begin to imagine certain things that are there any special notice that the Independent National Electoral Commission will notice in this new thing and begin to take precautions? At least that's within your purview to say, look, yes, this is coming, we have had this, now we are having this, these are the things where we will do to be sure that it runs well.
I don't know if you can be more specific.
Yeah, okay. I'm talking about where there are you bring in the card reader today.
Yes.
It didn't work, you postpone. For instance, I'm saying you postpone today because the law says you should not.
You have to understand how the thing operates. We don't just use one card reader. There's technical support. So if a card reader doesn't function, as you saw in Osun, people will quickly try to fix it. There are technical people on ground who try to fix it. Roving people who also try and fix it. There are also spares. We make room for redundancies where they can be replaced. So within a reasonable time, they will be repaired or replaced or reconfigured, as the case may be. So it's in extreme circumstances where maybe the replaced one doesn't function as well. That's now you can talk of that, say that, look, as the bill says, you have to wait for a few hours for remedial action to be taken.
Yes, I think actually the law actually says if it gets to less than 3 hours to the close of election, then it has to be shifted to the next day. By your calculation, you believe that this will be extreme because all remedial measures must have been taken to be sure that it works.
It can happen, but there are remedial actions that will be taken before we fall back. That's a fallback position. That's the worst case scenario. Yes.
Now, the independent national, let's talk generally now about the preparations for the elections itself. Okay. I am one of the advocates who believe that INEC is very, very the society or the government, everybody is unfair to the Independent National Electoral Commission because of these 3 days to election laws that we pass, and that they just wait until. Meanwhile, we have had 3 years running and we didn't pass the laws. Do we have any thing to quickly run around? Thank God the ballot papers and all those things, the law didn't affect them. The political parties, we have them now, 91 of them, and all those. Is INEC really ready for the elections? Could you say we are ready to control the elections?
Let's put it this way. We issued a timetable and schedule of activities that we had to undertake before the elections and reeled out the dates, timelines for so doing. And I can assure you that we've gone a long way in fulfilling all our obligations that we cast upon ourselves and the law cast upon us since that time. And as you're aware, the presidential and National Assembly elections, the parties that were interested, and most of them have submitted the list of candidates for the presidency and for the National Assembly elections. So basically, we published those lists, publish that list, the law says within 7 days. We're going to publish that list soonest, and then, we're really set to go. When you look at all the other yardsticks, so we've done things like trainings, capacity building. We've done things like identified modes for recruitment of our staff that will be used for these elections. We've tested our processes and procedures with the off-cycle elections, especially the recent ones, Edo, Anambra, Ondo, Ekiti, Osun. We've tested our processes, tested our procedures with or without the Electoral Act, for example, amendments. We will do transmission of results by electronic transmission of results, but this will not surpass or supplant what is provided in the extant law. So, which will be superior will depend on what the law is as at the time we're going to conduct the election in February next year. So if you say card reader is superior and this is a procedure, we're ready for that. We've enhanced the card readers, both hardware and software. These have all been the things that we have been doing towards our preparations for the elections. So voter education has started, and very soon we'll formally kick off a countdown to the elections. So we've been working towards successful elections. We've been preparing for that.
Ayode, you understand the challenges that were with the card readers, incident forms, how they were abused thoroughly, and the incident form is going.
Incident form has gone, by the way. We've not, in the last 2 elections, we've not used incident forms. Yeah. And I think you're aware of that. In Osun, we did not use incident forms. In Ekiti, incident forms were not used.
Now, are you anticipating politicians taking a different, looking at...
Yeah, to be sincere with ourselves, everybody from various quarters have been like, this election is going to be a do or die affair. There will be rigging. It's obvious. The only thing is, for people that cannot really join them, you just have to pray that where you are going to vote, you'll be able to actually cast your vote.
But that is not a good mindset. I believe that as much as we are very skeptical here, I mean, this part of the world, the Independent National Electoral Commission seems to say, look, we have seen some good elections that were held.
Imposing confidence on Nigerians, but to those out there, they will tell you this election, our candidate must win. So whatever it takes, we just have to, So those things, create some fear. But I believe INEC is capable with what they are doing. They are trying to close all ends. Let's just believe that also the technical issues will not surface because it's machines, they are not human. So those that, those areas still might give little concern, but let's just be optimistic.
We're at Primog, and that will be, we did a lot of survey to see the preparedness of people. Are you going to vote? We asked them. Some will say, yes, I will vote. Some people were even asking us for money. If they give us money, we will vote. In fact, before some persons answered us at our poll, those agents will send that they'll say, give us money before we talk to you. The incident of money, INEC is also trying to do something about that. They've introduced cameras at the polling inside the polling this box, so that nobody take camera to shoot without prevent people from collecting money. This money thing.
Well, the rate of poverty in the country is high. For sure. So many people
Is it poverty of the mind of the pocket?
Votes.
The mind and the pocket. So many people are willing to sell their vote for as little as a bulb of onion and salt. Some 2,000. In fact, one of those days we went to one of the registration centers. Somebody actually told me that, one of the reasons why I'm here is to get my PVC so I will sell it. He's ready to sell his votes.
Okay. Now, is that a challenge to INEC, Mr. Osaze? Is it a challenge? I mean, is there any, I know you have been working around to see how you can reduce.
It's a challenge to society. It's a societal challenge. And I'm not too sure I agree that there's so much pessimism, because never in our history have people been so aware and conscious of the powers that they have with their ballots. And collection of PVCs, the zeal to go and register has been so high. I don't think if people believed in that the their votes will not count. I don't think they'll go out to register with such enthusiasm and such large numbers. But as to I don't know. It's a societal, direct answer to your question. It's a societal challenge. It's a challenge to INEC. Votes should count, and they should be the free will of the voters. They shouldn't be induced by, and it's a criminal offense, by the way, under the Electoral Act, to you to offer for sale or buy votes. And people, one thing is, vote buying, vote selling is actually not mentioned in the Electoral Act.
Yeah.
What is mentioned is bribery, and that's what it is. So when you bribe somebody to vote in a particular way, or you bribe him not to vote at all, not to vote for a particular candidate, or to vote for a particular candidate, it's bribery. We use fanciful names to try and cover things. When you say vote buying, vote selling, it sounds dignified. It sounds okay.
So
it sounds
beautiful.
legit.
Yeah.
Sounds beautiful. But
it's
like those days you had 419 fast guys. 419 is now, fortunately and thankfully, it's now known to be a criminal thing, a horrible thing. It has a stigma attached to it. Then they changed it to Yahoo and fast guys. So very often in our society we try to use dignified terms to justify purely criminal based acts. So it's bribery. It's and if you say a bribe taker, that sounds horrible. But you say I sold my you say it almost with a pride from what that will be said, for example, it's wrong. Let's just call it what it is.
All right, we believe that we have we all have a duty to play. We all of us, particularly if you are 18 years and above and you have a card. But we just quickly want to remind you out there, if you registered between January and March this year, if you went to the polling to where INEC registration centers to put your name down for a PVC, the PVCs are ready. And the Independent National Electoral Commission is asking you to proceed. They will not bring it to your house. It's not expected that they're going to bring it to your house. Pick it up and get ready to vote. If you register between January and March, the PVCs are available in the locations where you can find them. The closest INEC office to you, they are available. Go there and you pick it up. It is important for you to pick it up because you just be an onlooker if you do not pick it up and you cannot vote. I must thank our guest, Mr. Oluwole Osaze-Uzzi, the Director of Voter Education and Publicity at the Independent National Electoral Commission, for coming on the program. Thank you so much
Thank you for having me.
And my colleagues Ayoade and Ada Obi, thank you for helping me out here. And that's how we're wrapping it up on the program. But we encourage you to follow us on all our media platforms, official at Primong on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. This program you have heard now is on YouTube channel. In a couple of hours from now, we'll put it there for sponsorship. And if you want to relate with us through phone, 09022656167. That is 09022656167. And be a friend of Primong. Visit our website, volunteer in any way there you can support Primong programs to campaign for all inclusiveness and accountability in government. And you can also join us again on Thursday for another edition of the program. My name is Okiri Agbonsuremi. Very many thanks for joining us on Politics Extra.